I was loading groceries in a parking lot after rain. Reached for an old umbrella that still lived in the trunk. The handle was cracked, right where it always was. Funny how some things stay long after people don't. I stood there for a minute holding that old thing, and suddenly I wasn't 42, I was 8 again. Walking home from school through cold October rain. My backpack was dry, my jacket was dry, my shoes were dry, and I never asked why. You always walked on the wet side, you always walked on the wet side. I stayed warm, I stayed dry, you always walked on the wet side. Back then, I thought that was normal. Kids think everything is normal. Dinner on the table, lights on at night, gas in the car. A coat by the door, an umbrella over their head. I never saw the cost, never saw the water running down your sleeves, never saw your hands turn red from the cold, never saw you shiver. I was too busy being a kid. You always walked on the wet side, you always walked on the wet side. I stayed warm, I stayed dry, you always walked on the wet side. The rain got heavier, you moved the umbrella closer to me. I remember that now. Every time the wind pushed, you pushed back harder. Not because it was easy, not because you liked it, because that's what fathers do, and they rarely tell you. Years later, I became the man carrying bags, the man paying bills, the man checking locks, the man worrying about people. And one day I realized I learned it from you, not from advice, not from speeches, not from lessons, from small things like an umbrella. You always walked on the wet side, you always walked on the wet side. I stayed warm, I stayed dry, you always walked on the wet side. Now the parking lot is empty, the rain is slowing down, cars come and go, people come and go, but somehow that crack handle stayed like it knew I would need it again. Not for the weather, for the memory. I opened it and stood there alone, listening to rain hit the fabric, the same sound. Maybe not the same umbrella, maybe not the same year, but the same love, the kind that never announces itself, the kind that doesn't ask for credit, the kind that gets soaked so someone else doesn't have to. You always walked on the wet side, you always walked on the wet side. I stayed warm, I stayed dry, you always walked on the wet side. And I never thanked you, not really, not in the way I should have. I just grew up and finally understood. Some fathers don't say I love you, some fathers carry groceries, some fathers fix broken things, some fathers leave early for work, some fathers stay up late, and some fathers walk on the wet side so their kids can stay dry. You always walked on the wet side, you always walked on the wet side. I stayed warm, I stayed dry, you always walked on the wet side. The rain had almost stopped, I put the umbrella back, closed the trunk, sat in the driver's seat, and for a moment I smiled. Because after all these years, you were still taking care of me from the dry side. side of a memory. From the dry side of a memory. 2, 3, thing. I was 23, borrowed shirt, borrowed tie, resume folded inside a cheap blue folder. Rain wasn't in the forecast, but it came anyway. By the second block, my shoulders were soaked. By the third block, I was thinking about turning back. The interview was downtown, a building with glass walls, people with clean shoes, people who looked like they belonged there. I wasn't sure I did. The bus stop was crowded, everybody hiding from the weather, everybody looking at somewhere else. Then you moved half a step and made room for me. Half of your umbrella, half of your umbrella. You never asked my name, still made room for me. Half of your umbrella, that's all it was. Half of your umbrella. You looked about 70, maybe older. Small brown coat, 2 grocery bags, rain tapping softly above our heads. You didn't say much, neither did I. Just a quiet morning in a city full of noise. Cars passed, people rushed, the rain kept falling. And somehow for a few minutes the world felt less cold. Half of your umbrella, half of your umbrella. You never asked my name, still made room for me. Half of your umbrella, that's all it was. Half of your umbrella. I kept looking at my watch, kept rehearsing answers. Where do you see yourself? What are your strengths? Why should we hire you? The questions felt important back then, now I barely remember them. What I remember is standing beside you, listening to rain and feeling less alone. The bus arrived, brakes squealing, doors opening. Everybody started moving. I grabbed my folder, stepped inside, looked back, you were still there, holding that umbrella like you had nowhere you needed to be. The door closed, the bus pulled away, and that was it. No goodbye, no thank you, no second chance. Half of your umbrella, half of your umbrella. You never asked my name, still made room for me. Half of your umbrella, that's all it was. Half of your umbrella. Years went by, jobs came and went. Different cities, different apartments, different versions of me. But every now and then rain starts falling, and I remember that stop, I remember that coat, I remember those grocery bags, I remember the space you made for a stranger. Funny thing is, the interview worked out, I got the job. Maybe I would have gotten it anyway, maybe not. But somehow in my memory, you became part of that day, part of the story, part of the reason I kept going. Not because you changed my life, because you reminded me people can still be kind without a reason, without a reward, without a conversation. Half of your umbrella, half of your umbrella. You never asked my name, still made room for me. Half of your umbrella, that's all it was. Half of your umbrella. Now when I see somebody standing in the rain, waiting papers, looking nervous, looking lost. I move half a step and make room. The same way you did, the same quiet kindness passed from one stranger to another. Maybe that's how it works, maybe that's how good things survive. Nobody owns them, nobody signs their name. They just keep moving from person to person, like shelter, like rain, like half of your umbrella, half of your umbrella. You never asked my name, still made room for me. Half of your umbrella, that's all it was. Half of your umbrella. And after all these years, I still wish I had turned around just once and said thank you.
Rain started just after dinner. Nothing serious, just enough to make the sidewalk shine. I was locking the front door when my son ran outside, without a jacket, without a plan, just smiling at the sky, like rain was something new. Dad, can we walk? I looked at the clouds, looked at him and said sure. I grabbed the umbrella, the old black one, the one that stays by the door, the one nobody talks about, the one that's always there. We started down the sidewalk, his shoes splashing through puddles, his questions coming faster than I could answer. Why does rain smell different? Where does it go after it falls? Do birds get cold? Do dogs like storms? I laughed, tried my best, kept the umbrella over him. Hold it over him, hold it over him. That's what I found myself doing without even thinking. Hold it over him, keep the rain away. A little longer, a little longer. Hold it over him. Then something happened, not outside, inside. A memory walked up beside me. I was small again, maybe 7, maybe 8, walking home in the rain beside my father. Same wet sidewalk, same sound of water, same umbrella, different year, different hands. And suddenly I remember the way he carried it, never over himself, always over me. I remember looking up and seeing rain on his shoulders while mine stayed dry. Back then I thought umbrellas worked that way. I thought fathers worked that way too. Like it was automatic, like it cost nothing, like it would always be there. Hold it over him, hold it over him. That's what I found myself doing without even thinking. Hold it over him, keep the rain away. A little longer, a little longer. Hold it over him. My son jumped over a puddle, missed completely, water everywhere. He laughed so hard he almost fell, and for a second I saw myself, not in a photo, not in a mirror, in him. Same smile, same excitement, same way of running ahead, then looking back to make sure Dad was still there. Funny thing is, I never noticed the day my father became my father. I only noticed after I became one. Nobody sits you down, nobody explains it. One day you're the kid, the next day you're carrying the umbrella. One day you're protected, the next day you're checking the weather before somebody else leaves the house. One day you're walking underneath it, the next day you're making sure it covers someone else. Hold it over him, hold it over him. That's what I found myself doing without even thinking. Hold it over him, keep the rain away. A little longer, a little longer. Hold The rain got heavier, cars moved slower, street lights came on. The whole neighborhood looked softer, like the world had turned down the volume. My son grabbed my hand, not because he was scared, just because he wanted to. And I didn't let go. We walked another block, then another, neither of us in a hurry. Some moments don't ask for anything, they just happen. And if you're lucky, you notice them while they're happening. I think my father had moments like this. Maybe he knew, maybe he didn't. Maybe he was just trying to get us home. Maybe he had no idea. I still remember it decades later. Hold it over him, hold it over him. That's what I found myself doing without even thinking. Hold it over him, keep the rain away a little longer, a little longer. Hold it over him. Eventually we turned around, started heading home. My son's shoes soaked through, his hair a mess, still smiling, still talking, still asking questions. The umbrella above him, like it had been above me years before, and maybe above my father too, when he was young. Maybe that's how some things survive. Not through stories, not through photographs, not through advice. Still small movements, repeated again and again. A hand on a shoulder, a light left on, a seat saved at the table, an umbrella held slightly to one side so someone else stays dry. We reached the house, closed the umbrella, water dripping all to the porch. My son ran inside, already thinking about something else. Kids do that. I stayed outside for a minute, looking at the rain, thinking about my father, thinking about my son, standing somewhere between them, and for the first time understanding exactly what was passed down. Hold it over him, hold it over him. That's what I found myself doing without even thinking. Hold it over him, keep the rain away a little longer, a little longer. Hold it over him, just like you did, just like you did. Hold it over him, hold it over him, hold it over him, hold it over him, just like you did, just like you did. Hold it over him. "3 years now," that's what my sister says. 3 years since Mom was here, 3 years since the hospital, 3 years since the phone call, 3 years since everything changed. Funny thing is, most of her things are gone. The clothes, the shoes, the notes on the refrigerator, the little grocery list, the reading glasses, the coffee mug. Life slowly packed those away, one drawer at a time, one box at a time, one painful afternoon at a time. But not the umbrella. The umbrella stayed, still by the door, still by the door. Nobody moves it, nobody asks why. Still by the door, like she's coming home tonight. Still by the door. It's old now, black fabric, wooden handle, a little crooked near the top. Nothing special, you could walk past it every day and never notice it unless you knew. Mom always left it there, always. Didn't matter if it rained, didn't matter if it was summer, didn't matter if she used it, that's where it belonged. Beside the door, waiting like she always was, waiting for somebody, waiting for Dad, waiting for me, waiting for my sister, waiting for everyone to get home safe. Still by the door, still by the door. Nobody moves it, nobody asks why. Still by the door, like she's coming home tonight. Still by the door. Last winter, I picked it up, not because I needed it, not because it was raining. I just thought maybe it's time, maybe keeping it there is silly. Maybe we're holding on too hard, maybe healing looks different, maybe we should move forward.
I held it for 10 seconds, maybe less, then put it right back exactly where it was, without thinking, like my hands already knew what my heart hadn't admitted. Some things aren't furniture, some things aren't objects, some things become people. That umbrella stopped being an umbrella a long time ago. Now it's a voice, a memory, a piece of her standing watch near the entrance. Still by the door, still by the door. Nobody moves it, nobody asks why. Still by the door, like she's coming home tonight. Still by the door. Dad never talks about it, at least not directly. He'll walk past it, pause for half a second, then keep going, like he saw something, like he heard something, like he remembered something. Then the moment disappears back into silence. That's how grief works sometimes. Not loud, not dramatic, just little interruptions in ordinary days. A smell, a song, a recipe, an umbrella. And suddenly someone is standing beside you again. For a minute, for a second, long enough to hurt, long enough to smile. I remember rainy mornings, Mom standing there holding that umbrella as we rushed out, telling us to drive safe, call when you get there. Take your jacket, don't skip lunch. The same things every mother says, the same things every child ignores, until one day you'd give anything to hear them again. Still by the door, still by the door. Nobody moves it, nobody asks why. Still by the door, like she's coming home tonight. Still by the door. The house is quieter now, different somehow. The lights still work, the clock still ticks, the mail still comes, the seasons still change. Life keeps doing what life does. But there are empty places, invisible ones, places only family can see. And somehow that umbrella fills one of them, not completely. Nothing can, but enough. Enough to make the hallway feel familiar, enough to make the house feel like home, enough to make us leave it alone. Maybe one day someone will move it. Maybe one day the house will belong to someone else. Maybe one day nobody will remember why it mattered. But not today. Today it's still there, right where she left it. Still by the door, still by the door. Nobody moves it, nobody asks why. Still by the door, like she's coming home tonight. Still by the door. And every time I walk inside, I look at it without meaning to, the same way I used to look for her. And maybe that's the truth. Some people never really leave. They stop speaking, they stop walking, they stop opening the front door. But somehow they stay in the habits, in the rooms, in the things they touched, in the things nobody can throw away. Sometimes they stay inside an old umbrella